Lionel Tate. Lionel's mother, Kathleen, was asked to watch 6-year-old Tiffany for the evening. Kathleen and Tiffany's mother had grown up together in Jamaica. Lionel Tate was only 12 years old at the time. After dinner, the children were watching TV, and Kathleen decided to go upstairs for the evening. She yelled downstairs for them to quiet down at about 10 p.m., but did not check on them at the time. It was around 40 minutes later, at approximately 10:40 p.m., when Lionel Tate went upstairs to get his mother and told her that little Tiffany Eunuch was not breathing. He told his mother he had her in a headlock when she smashed her head on the side of a table. He then described her as rolling around on the floor, crying, acting like a baby, and urinating in her pants. When Lionel finally went to get his mother to tell her that the little girl was not breathing, her broken little body was already cold. In 2001, 14-year-old Lionel Tate was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the death of 6-year-old Tiffany Eunuch that had occurred 2 years prior. He was the youngest person in the United States to be ever given that sentence. Joshua Phillips. Phillips was a lonely average student who spent much of his spare time watching TV at home. However, he did befriend his 8-year-old neighbor, Maddie Clifton, to horrifying results. When she came by to play with Phillips on November 3, 1998, they were in the front yard playing baseball when Clifton crossed the street to join him. He claimed to have agreed since both of his parents were at work, but then accidentally hit her in the eye with his ball. Scared of the consequences, he dragged the crying girl into his house and then strangled and hit her with his bat. Desperate to silence her before his father got home, Phillips shoved her unconscious body under his bed. Her mother reported Clifton missing at 5 p.m., but she would never be seen alive again. The 15-year-old was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Dexter Johnson. Dexter Johnson, 18 years old in 2006, and 4 other accomplices kidnapped, carjacked, robbed, raped, and murdered 23-year-old Mariah Aparis and her 17-year-old boyfriend, Hui No. In 2007, a jury convicted him of murder and sentenced him to death. Since he was 18 years old at the time of the crime, the death penalty was on the table. During his sentencing, Dexter threw a chair across the courtroom and had to be subdued by multiple bailiffs, while his family members screamed in anger and threatened Aparis and No's family members inside the courtroom. Keiondrea Cook. This is Keiondrea Cook. 14-year-old Keiondrea Cook used a dating app to lure Perry Nita, who invited Emmanuel Purcell. Cook's then-boyfriend, Kendrick Bass, is accused of shooting Purcell during a carjacking. He survived the shooting, but she was sentenced for 20 years in prison. The video of Keiondrea's meltdown saw her wailing to hold her mom one last time before being jailed, only for courtroom guards to take her into immediate custody. Dylan Schumaker. This is Dylan Schumaker. Dylan Schumaker was left to babysit his girlfriend's young child, and by the end of the night, the child was dead. According to court documents, Schumaker fatally beat the child when he would not stop crying. He had his sad face ready and his privilege intact when State Supreme Court Justice M. William Bowler was ready to hand down punishment. Except one thing was unexpectedly standing in his way: his own words. Teenager found guilty and was sentenced to a maximum punishment of a life sentence of 25 years. Samantha Grigg. This is Samantha Grigg. Grigg was an aspiring singer who performed with her band, Undecided, at the Ann Arbor Summer Music Festival. Grigg testified in Clinton County Circuit Court that she, Breeder Nitz, and Haim traveled to East Lansing with plans to beat up and rob Froka, although she didn't say how they knew him. Grigg told the court that she drove Froka to several ATMs before the others started beating him. Froka died because of several injuries. Grigg, 18, pleaded guilty to charges of manslaughter and unarmed robbery in Clinton County trial court. Grigg was sentenced up to 15 years behind bars. Curtis Brooks. Curtis Brooks was 15 years old for his involvement in a 1995 carjacking that led to the fatal shooting of 24-year-old Christopher Ramos. Brooks and 3 other teenagers approached Ramos as he walked to his car in Aurora in an attempt to steal the vehicle. However, that night didn't go at all as planned. The group indeed approached the stranger, and Brooks shot into the air as instructed, but Harris shot the car owner in the head and killed him on the spot. The teenagers attempted to flee the scene, but police found them easily by following their tracks in the snow. Brooks explained his role and confessed in his participation in the crime. But even though he wasn't the one to pull the trigger, Brooks was convicted of first-degree murder and given a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. The law dictating juvenile sentencing changed in 2016, banning automatic sentences of life without parole for teenagers. That was it for today's video. We hope you like it. If you want to see more interesting videos, then make sure to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button,